So I can understand reading the Amida how requesting intellectual enlightenment would be something relevant to, that I can understand. To return to a state of closeness to God, to be forgiven, I'm not so sure. To be redeemed from pain and strife, to be healed. Our produce should be good and plentiful, I can understand that. All the Jews should be returned to Israel. What does that have to do with improving and refining
So
myself?
remember we were saying the other day in the prayer in the class we were learning the other day about Yisod that one of the ideas is that 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 there in each and every one of us there's a lack of Jewishness. Each and every one of us is in a way not Jewish enough because in a way like we start counting the Jews from Jacob, right? Even though Abraham has sort of converted,
Yeah.
Yitzchak is already a second degree, like FFB. You can say that Isaac is already FFB, right, from birth, right? But really, we're starting to count from Jacob.
Yes.
So I think it means a few things. I think it means first of all that it takes time for things to be rooted deeply. It takes a few generations for things to be rooted deeply.
That's true.
So even just on a physical level, the fact that we came back to Israel, I came from a Russian family that was making kiddush with a television in the background. I already gave my children some kind of another Judaism. I also made a million mistakes. They're only taking Judaism to a certain level. They're going to give it to their children. Hopefully by the next generation it will be more solid, right?
Yeah.
Now, on the spiritual level, each one of us is doing that transformation from before Abraham, from Terah, to, and
Idols.
even Jacob is not enough. Jacob has to become Jacob Israel, Yaakov Israel, right? What's Israel? Is Yashar En, straight with God. So Jacob being completely born FFB is also not enough. He has to become Israel also. He also has to find the straightness with God. He also has to conquer his demons, which is the fighting with the angel, right? So we all have to become more Jewish. It's not just that, somebody who isn't born Jewish has to become Jewish.
And the Jewish judges should return to rule. That's like requesting
It doesn't say that, by the way, in the Hebrew, it doesn't say the Jewish judges. It doesn't say in the English translation. It says, give us back our judges as to begin with. And even that is, I would say, is questionable because we had good judges and we had crooked judges. We had everything. Nowadays, the whole legal system is completely corrupt. So
right.
how many judges do we have that actually serve God in today's legal world? So that's on a physical level, very easy to, have the right kavanah. And then on a spiritual level also, how much am I judging every situation in my life without being bribed, without bribing myself, without bribing my consciousness? Am I deceiving myself with every situation, with every decision that I make in life? Am I really looking at the truth, of the core truth of every situation, or am I deceiving my consciousness, lying to myself, suppression is very much has to do with that also. How much am I suppressing reality because I don't want to look into reality in the face? How much am I suppressing what I see about my spouse, for example, because I don't really want to see the truth about them, right? How many people came to me over the years and said, all of a sudden my spouse cheated on me, or all of a sudden my spouse walked out on me? It wasn't all of a sudden. It took years, except you weren't willing to look at it. There was this, I remember this one client who had pictures of their lover fall out of their wallet in front of their spouse. It wasn't coincidental. They just didn't have the guts to tell their spouse about it, right? So how much are we lying to ourselves in life situation, not knowing? We know, but our inner judge is just um, refusing to see the truth, the reality.
I think they also may mean by Jewish judges um, as able to give like a balanced analysis of the
Yes,
situation,
yeah, exactly.
to see things for what they are, to know how to use Gamora.
Right.
So they're not just talking about when they use the word Jewish.
I don't know why the translation says there, because in Hebrew it says "Ashiva shovtenu keva techila keva rishona veyotzenu keva techila." It has nothing to do with. There's no word of Jewish there.
No,
Yeah,
uh,
but
no.
you see, that's again, it's a problem to read it in a foreign language,
I know.
but still you get more benefits from reading it. You can take time. Really, that's what the best thing to do is to learn the prayer in Hebrew and compare it to the because you have it just enough Hebrew to see that in the Hebrew translation you won't have the word Jewish. If you would take the time to compare the two, not when you're praying, but when you're just learning the prayer, and then you see, then you can meditate on it. Okay, so I am reading the prayer in English because when I'm actually praying, it's much easier for me to pray in the language I know. It allows me much deeper dwelling into every word. But I also try to remember that, for example, the word Jewish is not in the original text.
Wow. Yeah. And they don't mean Jewish as Jewish religion.
Right.
They mean Jewish as someone that has a collection of certain
Right.
attributes.
And for example, if I had to pray in a foreign language, if I didn't know Hebrew, and I
Right.
had to, I would rewrite that blessing for myself in English without the word Jewish, and I would read it in the actual translation that I would pick out from the siddur, from the prayer book, so that I have the real, meaning of it. So that when I say it, I don't get confused, and I really meditated on it in the proper way.
And you were able to relate to it inside of
Right.
yourself
Right.
and tell what you're talking about, refining in yourself.
Right. Right.
When you talk about judges, you're talking about some, like we said, someone who's able to see both sides of an issue, right? And they come to like an honest assessment.
Right. And to make it a bit more universal, the idea is that I'm praying for it. I'm really praying for, the legal system is corrupt all over the world, not just in Israel. And as the Jewish people, we're actually responsible to pray for the whole world and not just for us.
Oh, definitely.
So, like we're saying, when we're praying for Parnasa, for example, in the Shmona Esrei, we're praying for every little grain of rice that is growing somewhere in India. We're really meditating on every little rice that is growing, or every little flower, every little whatever orange. So we really have to focus on that. So how can so if we're being focused on the word Jewish, we miss the idea of remembering that we need to pray for the whole world, because it's not just about the Jews; it's about the whole world.
And then you have like the holy temple and its service should be restored. We're talking about restoring ourselves, the structure of ourselves, making
Right.
ourselves
Right.
whole.
Right? Because what does it say? Vasita min migdash v'shachanti betocha. Make me a temple within you, and I will dwell within you.
Man,
It doesn't say I will dwell within the temple. So as much as it's important to conquer the Temple Mount and build, what is the idea? Why are we, so you might tell me back, right? So why are we fighting so hard for a piece of land on Temple Mount? If it doesn't
right.
matter, if all that we, care about is making a temple within ourselves, and by fighting for that piece of land, we're only getting further away maybe from building a temple within ourselves, right? But the answer to that is that whenever we were in control of the Temple Mount throughout history,
Yeah.
all religions were allowed to come and give their sacrifice there.
Yeah.
While whoever is in charge there now thinks that they're the only ruler and only they're allowed to pray there. And now it's getting a bit better. It's not as bad as it was a couple of years ago, but it's only because we had shown enough Gevurah to, put our
force
foot down.
change.
Right, right. But we want to do those things without force. We want to do those things just like we were kind and opened up the door to everybody. That's how you know. How do you know who's the owner of the house? Whoever's opening the door, right? We opened the door to all religions to Temple Mount. We never closed the door to anybody. On the contrary, we say the 7 days of Sukkot are the 7 days of sacrifice for all the 70 nations of the world. Now there's much more than 70, but back then in history.
So in the Holy Temple, everybody came to the Holy Temple and made sacrifice?
Everybody was open to, and foreign kings would send their sacrifice to the Holy Temple.
Wow. So even though this is a simplistic outline here, I can look at everything and
And look for deeper meaning. Yes. Not only you could, we must. That is the essence of prayer, finding the deeper meaning in every word.
but seeing how it relates to myself and what I should be doing
Yes.
to refine
Yeah.
myself.
Not some esoteric deeper meaning, but realistic deeper meaning. Realistic yet spiritual in my soul, not just in my physical reality. Physical reality and spiritual reality. Emotional reality, communication reality. How do I relate to people? How do they relate to me? How do I perceive people? When I say how do they relate to me, I mean how do I perceive them? Not how do they relate to me, not what their work is. I shouldn't be looking at what their work is. That's none of my business. My business is how do I relate in perceiving people's behavior. Somebody said to me, I didn't like it. It was cynical, right? Whatever. Like on a course yesterday, I was at this webinar, whatever, and somebody said they're from a completely worldview of mine, and they said something there which made me feel very uncomfortable. I could have gotten into it. I could have said something, but I was like, I don't want to ruin the vibe here, you know? Maybe it's important, maybe it isn't, but really, why do I want to create war here now, you know? So I didn't say anything. Right? I could, be like, I'm going to change the world. I'm going to look smart. I'm going to this. No, I don't have to prove to the whole world that I'm right all the time.
Then we have this whole thing about reviving the dead. Blessed are you, Lord, who revives the dead. We're not just talking about
We're
resurrection.
dead.
We're talking about
We're dead.
Yeah.
We're
Because
dead.
many of us are far from God, and
But not only that, we're far from life.
which is far from life.
We're far from feeling alive. We're far from desiring true life. I mean, we're far from desiring living. We're just getting by emotionally. In a way, we're even trying to kill ourselves by not living healthy. So we're not jumping off a high building, high riser, right? But we're not living healthy is a way of not being alive, not wanting to live, even if it's very subconscious. So many people might say, come on, this is too whatever, But if I really want to look inside myself, how much am I alive and how much do I want to live and how much, I'm slowly killing myself, God forbid. And the other part of it is, of course, how much am I desiring a physical life versus how much am I desiring a spiritual life? How much am I living here to enjoy life in a physical way, or how much am I living here to serve the world, to give to God, to give to his people, to give to all people on earth, to make it a better world? Because real life is when I'm living to make it a better world. Real life is not when I live just enough to go to another restaurant or make myself another good meal. That's good. Maybe it's important too. It is for sure.
Yeah.
But it's only to get me by so that I can be more functionate to make it a better world.
And all these things, we're asking God to get produce, and to get we're talking about the things that we need to live, to survive, to live a good life. It's incredible. Restore our judges as in former times and our counselors of yore. Remove from us sorrow and sighing, and reign over us. You alone, O Lord, with kindness and compassion, with righteousness and justice. Blessed are you, Lord, King, who loves righteousness and justice.
Yeah, we're gonna have to continue next time because my battery's about to die. So see you next time.